What's up, gang? How you guys doing? It is Lieutenant Sal Blue, 28-year law enforcement veteran and the author of the top 25 mistakes en route to the good life, coming at you today with my daily podcast. Now listen, guys, before I get into my podcast, I just want to tell you guys, if you have not yet gone over to lieutenantsalblue.com and picked up your autographed copy of the top 25 mistakes, you are missing out, man. You are missing out on some of the greatest, the best, phenomenal mistakes that people have made. Wrote them down in this book. Mistakes that I made that could have cost me my life. Wrote them down in this book, right? Put them all in this book, man, and just laid it out, man. Laid it out and broke it down to the best, the top 25, right? And I want you to avoid those mistakes. But in order to avoid them, you got to know what they are, man. So grab the book, grab yourself a free copy today over at lieutenantsalblue.com, man. So as I start today's podcast, I'm thinking to myself, what is on my mind, right? I was looking at some old notes from 2018, and I wrote down like what was on my mind in 2018, and one of the things was my monthly bills, right? My monthly bills, and so I had to ask myself, have I worked on that? Had I solved that problem, right? Going to Texas for the hurricane relief was also on my mind. It was Texas, Florida, and Puerto Rico. So those were places where I needed to go for hurricane relief. But that is long since passed, and people are starting to get back on their feet slowly. My dad's house, for the contractors, right? The contractors had to come in and work on my dad's house. That was a project me and my brother were working on together. So we had to get through that, man. And a couple of courses that I was into, that was like $650 a month or something like that. And so I had to pay those courses. So that was on my mind. To put that with the monthly bills, that was kind of like two of the same things. And the other one was paying for my advertising for my business. Now, it was a different business at the time. It was an e-com business. And so those were some of the things that were on my mind. I have a whole list more. And I had them listed in order of my priorities and whether I was handling them or not, right? I had a couple of things checked marked, a couple of things crossed off. And so that is what was on my mind in 2017, maybe 2018. And I want to know, man, have you been moving forward with having new problems as opposed to having old problems, right? Because that is so important, right? To always be having new problems to solve, not just dealing with the same old problems over and over again. As the saying goes, it gets stale. It gets old, right? Dealing with the same old problems, because then what it does is it triggers in your mindset, right? The fact that you're not a person that solves problems. You're just a person that has problems, and you don't want that to be you, guys. So you got to keep constantly growing, keep constantly evolving, and as you get better, you're going to have more problems. You're going to have bigger problems, man. Listen, I still have the monthly bill problem, right? I did not figure that out. All I did was make it bigger. Right? So now I had, instead of the small monthly bills that I was worried about, I gained so much more income, and in turn, I increased my lifestyle, and I have increased my monthly bills. So what was I thinking? That was a mistake I made. That was an error, man. That was an error, and so that is why I'm going back, reading old notes, and re-educating myself on the direction that I need to take in order to have a better life, guys. And this is key, and you guys have to do this as often as possible, frequently. You have to do it, man. It is so important. So as I get into today's podcast, I just wanted to touch on that base real quick, because I had the notes sitting to the side, because something I'm gonna have to jump back into today, and I'll be working on. That is the things that I work on during my downtime, right? Making my life better. You got to figure out what you're going to do in your downtime, whether it's going to be video games, whether it's going to be scrolling on your phone, or whether it's going to be improving your life. You got to choose what it's going to be, guys. So work on that. Now, there are so many people who have been hit by life circumstances, right? Life circumstances, and they just can't seem to find a way out. How are you going to find a way out of your current life circumstances, things that you are dealing with, that you've been dealing with, that as I said before, your mind is starting to be reprogrammed as a person who is defined by his problems, not his solutions. So you got to make that change, guys, man. These circumstances today are no different than the events that have kept people stuck for years in their lives, right? We may name it different, like the pandemic or the financial crisis or whatever. So we may give it different names, right? But just because we give it different name does not mean, guys, that the problems now are any greater than the problems that other people had in the past, right? So as I did an evaluation of problems that people had in the past and problems that people had in the present, I came up with like a percentage wise of the majority of people being stuck with the problem, and that's all they talked about. They never really talked about the solution, but they talked about the problem. And when they talk about the problem, guys, listen, what it causes is it causes a mindset shift for you not to be able to grow, right? So you can't always be talking about the problem when it comes to creating the life that you want, guys. So yeah, Shelby came and snuck in here, so she's hanging out for a little bit, but not for long, right? Because she's gonna bark and want to get inside. But anyway, as I go on, guys, as I said before, these circumstances today are no different than the ones in the past, right? Now, yesterday, I spoke to you guys about mindset, right? I spoke to you guys about mindset and how it is the key to your salvation. Mindset is the key to your salvation. Now, think about that for a minute, right? Because a lot of people put other people in charge of their salvation, when I believe that it is your mindset that is the key to your salvation, the key to set you free. So today I want to ask you a question that hopefully, if it doesn't get you moving, it can at least get you thinking, guys, because you need to be thinking about a direction that you're going in, right? You need to be thinking about it. It needs to constantly be on your mind. It needs to constantly be something that you're working on, right? You can enjoy life and you can have fun. I'm not trying to eliminate fun out of your life, guys, but what I'm trying to tell you is that life is always moving, right? And if you are personally not moving, then life is passing you by. And I was told that many years ago by a very wise individual that told me that if you are not moving forward, you are moving backwards. And if you're not moving at all, life is passing you by. So understand that point when it comes to movement, right? And I'm talking about movement as in the direction of your life, guys. So you need to be constantly thinking about the direction of your life. Now, my question for today's podcast is this, guys, right? Are you allowing your worries, right? Because I believe that this is what gets so many people stuck, right? Are you allowing your worries to consume you, or are you going to fight back? That is the question that I ask so many people when I'm trying to help them to move along in their life, trying to help them to have a better life and get more things out of their life, right? They always tell me about the problems that they have and the issues that they're dealing with and the things that are going on in their lives. And the truth is that everybody has things going on in their lives. And if you don't face those things you have going on in your life with action, then you're going to be stuck in those things for the rest of your life, man. So think about that, man. You're going to be stuck in inaction because you're constantly believing that your thought process is action. Thoughts are not action, right? Thoughts are the starting point or the initiative or the beginning of action. But if you're not constantly thinking about solutions, then your thoughts actually become the biggest problem. And that's why I wanted to talk about your mindset, right? So are you fighting back? So I ask you this question because far too many people have the belief that when life hits them, right? When life hits them with a hard time, there's going to be someone, right? Someone, right? Whether it's their family, whether it's their friends, whether it's the government, somebody, right? Who is going to be responsible enough, right? to make things better for them, to bail them out, to give them some form of relief of the pain that they're dealing with, of the problem and issue that they have going on, right? So that's what they're doing. People are sitting in and they're waiting for the government savior. They're waiting for their friends to save them. They're waiting for their parents to jump in and solve their problems, guys. This is how people are living their life frequently, each and every day. And I'm telling you this because it is a mistake, right? It is a mistake that I've seen far too many people make, that ended up nobody ever came to rescue them. Nobody ever came to bail them out, right? And the government just left them high and dry to fend for themselves, guys. So you can't be banking on other people and other entities to come and to save you in your current life right now on this earth, guys. So nobody's going to help you to make things better other than you, right? Now, as I said before, people are always looking outside of themselves for a savior. Outside of themselves. And why would you be looking outside of yourself for a savior, right? Looking up to God, Jesus, praying for salvation and help when everything that you need was already given to you. It was given to you. And it is up to you to use the tools that were given to you to make life work for you, right? I tell people all the time, you sit there with a hammer in your hand and you ask your neighbor to come over and bang in the nail. Why, right? What are you thinking about, man? The power is in your hands. Take charge and do it. Make it happen. Do something about it, guys. And that is the point of today's podcast, man. I need you guys to fight, right? Fight back against your problems and your issues, guys. So if these people are not looking for a savior when things get hard in life, then they go to the other option, right? What do you think if somebody is not looking for a savior to help them? Then what is the other option that you think that people go to? Because it's three options, right? You can either fight back and go for what you want. You can look for a savior waiting for somebody else to help you. Or last but not least, that's right, man, they escape. They try to escape. They escape in alcohol. They escape in television. They escape in their phones, right? They escape in tonight's Netflix series, whatever it is, man, Squid Game, whatever, right? They try to escape. They try to escape life. They try to escape their problems, and they feel that if they continually put their head down, that either somebody or something is going to come along, and when they lift their head back up, the problem's gone. It's miraculously gone away, guys. And so that is very rarely the case, man. It is very rarely the case. So you need to continually work on your own problems and your own issues, man. There is no escape, right? It is either going to consume you, right? Or you're going to fight to get out of it. That is your only two choices. And I prefer you not to be consumed by your problems, man, because I believe that you have a value that you can bring to the world. But you're allowing things to hold you back, to stop you from achieving your best life, right? You're allowing problems that if you put in the work, you can figure it out, man. You can figure out that problem. So knock it off, man. Don't do that to yourself. Begin to get a pad and paper and write things down. I think that was my biggest change in my life when it came to helping me solve problems. I started putting things on paper and looking at it and reading it and going to sleep on it sometimes. You know, going to sleep, taking a nap in the middle of the day, going, man, this problem is overwhelming. I'm going to just write it down and take a nap about it. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I wake up refreshed and ready to go at it once more. May not solve the problem immediately, but after several times of doing that, man, I started figuring things out. So now, I want to tell you guys, right, as before, there's so many forms of escapism, but probably the most popular form of escapism is entertainment, right? People love to entertain themselves as a way of escaping the pain. Escaping the pain of the problems. And when you escape the pain of your problems, you never solve it, right? It never gets solved. You never come to a solid resolution. What you end up doing is, right, you end up being in a vicious circle. You have pain at the top of the circle, right? Then you have escapism, where you try to escape and figure out what you can do to escape your problem, right? And then when the problem is still there after the escapism event is over, then at the bottom you have regret, right? And then you're right back to pain once again, man. So that is the vicious circle that people go on so often, man, when it comes to escapism and not solving their problems. That's why I try to tell people you need to dive right into action, right? And make action your default. Make action your default, guys. Now, we can't stop ourselves, right? And so a lot of people come to me and say, well, how am I supposed to stop my emotions? And they say it with an attitude too, right? But the truth is, right, I'm not trying to tell you, because we can't stop ourselves from feeling our feelings or our emotions, right? And it's not, and I'm not going to be the one to try to say, hey, listen, you need to learn how to suppress your emotions. You need to learn how to suppress your feelings. Because I had a teacher that taught me that, right? I had a teacher that in tactical battles and things that I was dealing with in law enforcement and special ops, right, that taught us how to suppress our emotions. And I don't feel that is the most healthy option in the long run, right? Suppressing your emotions. Because, listen, our emotions are a natural cause, right? And I believe that we need to learn how to deal with them as opposed to suppressing them. So I would never tell you suppress your emotions. I would never tell you to suppress your feelings, right? But what I want you to know is we don't have to allow our feelings to deter us from taking actions, right? Our feelings cannot determine our actions. So that is how you begin to move forward despite your feelings, despite your emotions, despite what's going on in your life. You have to begin to learn how to move despite of. I have a feeling of pain. I don't want to get out of bed. My mind is stronger than my emotions, and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to get out of bed anyway, right? Because here's the deal. If we are ruled by our emotions, if that was the case, none of us would get much done in our lives, right? Because we all have emotions, we all have feelings, right? And it is literally almost impossible to stop yourself from having feelings about something. Because one thing I learned is in life will find your weakness. Life will find what you're vulnerable to. Life will find the chink in your armor, and it will continually beat away at that chink until you feel an emotion, a pain, or have a reaction to correct it. So that is what you guys have to understand, right? It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's not about eliminating your emotions, but it's about moving despite your emotions. So what we have to do is we have to begin to train our mind to act, right? As I said before, action as our default. Actions despite emotions. Okay? And that is what you need to do. Write it on your mirror, man. Actions despite emotions. You put that on your mirror, you read it every single day, right? It will begin to sink in your mind. And you will know that emotions aren't bad and you're going to feel them, but you can still act despite your emotions, guys. So your mind, right? And I tell people all the time to work on your mind, right? Your mind needs to become stronger than your feelings. So how do you do that? How do you get your mind to become stronger than your feelings, man? You have to learn how to operate in action, guys. You have to learn how to operate in action. We all have big, strong, deep feelings, man. Passionate, super passionate about certain things, right? And you have to have a strong reason, right? Not an emotionally driven reason all the time, but you have to have a strong why on your reasons why you're doing something. So, and those reasons why you're doing something will teach you about delayed gratification, right? And will teach you that sometimes you have to go through some pain in order to receive long-term pleasure. It will teach you all these things you need in order to grow and prosper and have a better life. But it all starts up here, guys. It all starts up here with having a stronger mind, man. So having a stronger mind will help you to get over a lot of obstacles that so many people fall victim to throughout their lives, right? And you can't just be someone whose actions and their actions, right? You just can't be somebody whose actions is determined by the ebbs and flows of life, right? If your actions are determined by the ebbs and flows, things get hard, you back off. Things get easy, you want to surge, right? You can't just be controlled by that. You have to, when things are hard, you got to keep pushing through. When things are easy, you got to push even harder, right? And if you're determined by the ebbs and flows of life, here's what's going to happen, right? Somebody else is going to come along and they're going to figure out the fact that if they provoke you emotionally, they can slow you down and they could take advantage of the spot that you're in, or something you're going for, or something you're pushing for, right? Maybe you're going for a promotion at the job, right? And you have to study for that promotion, like we used to have to study for sergeants and lieutenants and majors exam and law enforcement. And that person just edges you on emotionally, right? Finds what makes you tick and then continually sets you off and instigate that emotion in you, which then will take away from your concentration and your ability to study for the exam so that they can take your spot, so they can go in there and they can do better than you and be better than you, right? So you have to be careful. It's all about being smart, and it's all about being strategic when you're trying to have the best life possible. If you leave yourself up to emotions and ebbs and flows, someone else will come along and they will be the puppet master of your life, man. Somebody else is going to come along and they're going to determine your ebbs and your flows. It's not going to be left to nature, circumstances, whatever. Somebody's going to get their hands in there and they're going to determine how your life is going to turn out, guys. So if you're going to be able to do everything it takes to have the life you want, you will need to put some extra time in developing your mind to do what it takes, right? Just developing your mind, that skill set to do what it takes. And I found that for me, right, the skill set to do what it takes has nothing to do with my emotions, but it has a lot to do with my belief, right? What I believe I can achieve. And when you start working on what you believe you can achieve, then you start to do things despite, right, how you feel, because you believe that if you do this now, later on in the future, it has laid the groundwork for your success. So understand that, guys. You have to have a strong belief, and then you have to do it anyway. You have to do things despite, right? So one of the things that I wanted to tell you guys before I get into wrapping this up, right, is that you're going to be able to do everything it takes to have the life that you want. I just went over that, guys. So in order to gain more control over my days, me personally, right, more control over my days, I began by asking myself the right questions. And that is important too, guys. That is important too. Asking yourself the right questions. What are the right questions that you need to ask yourself? I believe, and I firmly believe, that the right questions will guide you in the direction that you need to go to have the good life, right? And if you're not asking yourself the right questions, then you are going to get answers that are going to take you well off track of where you need to go and how you need to react to certain situations that happen in your life. So one of the questions that I began to ask myself is, one of the first ones is, how am I going to turn talking into results? Right? A lot of us, man, are are have the issue with doing a lot of talking and not getting results, right? Talking too much gives you room for your emotions to step in. When you do too much talking, right? And I tell people that all the time. When you do too much talking and not jumping into action, your emotions take charge of your actions and not logic, right? So you're not thinking clearly because you have now, sometimes you even talk your way out of taking action. So you can't be talking too much, guys. You have to turn your talking into results. And what would help you, what will really help you is if you stop telling everybody what you're going to do, right? Stop telling everybody what you're going to do until you get a strong enough don't give a shit muscle, so that when people come back at you with all of the negativity, they don't get you all caught up in your own emotions where you don't start disbelieving in what you can achieve. So turning your talking to the results. Another thing that I had to work on in order to get my mind right was I need to have a strong sense of my daily mental attitude, right? My daily mental attitude. So every day I work on meditation and clearing my mind so that I could think clearly in the things that I do. And at night before I go to bed, I meditate, clear my mind. I write down questions that I need to contemplate or think over in my subconscious mind while I sleep. These are things that I do and work on in order to have a strong mind. You have to work on your mental dexterity, guys, in order to achieve the life that you want. Work on your mental dexterity. And last but not least, guys, take one action, right, toward performing whatever you need to do to complete whatever you need to complete daily. Every single day, you have to do an action in order to have the life that you want. So continue to work on that. Listen, guys, my battery is about to go on this recorder right now. I think I got about 1 or 2 more minutes. So you got to ask yourself the question before I wrap it up. What is the one skill I need to develop, guys? So ask yourself that question. But anyway, man, make sure you guys hop on over to Lieutenant Sound Blue. Pick up my book, my free copy. I got an upsell on the audiobook as well. And hit me up at all the social platforms at Lieutenant Sound Blue, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and Top 25 Mistakes Facebook group. All right. This is Lieutenant Sound Blue. I'm wrapping it up on the quickness, right? And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great day. I'm about to put this on a charger. Deuces.